Hello, and welcome to the lore of Braunhaven. We're going to continue our exploration of the merchant district of the Imperial Port, and today we're going to be talking about the Imperial Customs building. So, Imperial Customs is on the far southeast side, is pretty much at the end of the merchant district of the Imperial Port, and in the past, during the Imperial Port's height, this building was a flurry of activity, 24 hours a day, um, constantly shuffling cargo in and out of ships that docked at the docks platform and moving them in to be inspected in the main building, and then some of those cargoes would be purchased directly by the Glossian Empire, or they would be shuffled off to warehouses uh, where they would be stored and then shuffled off to the rest of the merchant district, or such as the Grand Mall, or eventually all the way to the end uh, to the clearinghouse where they would be put up for auction or ferried out by different traveling caravans that were heading to multiple destinations, some to Glauschein, some to Zlatoheim, etc. And so uh, this wasn't a situation where the Glossian Empire cared about things such as immigration or wanting to keep certain items out. Customs didn't do that. They didn't care if a boat showed up with a cargo hold full of people. Imperial Customs wasn't going to limit them in any way, other than the fact that whether or not they could pay taxes. That was the only stipulation. If you are going to pay the taxes and the entrance fee of coming into the Glossian Empire, then you can be considered a citizen. That's really all there is to it. It's not any more complicated than that. But mostly, the Imperial Customs was about collecting taxes, whether that tax be on cargo that was coming in or out, or on people. And people are, if they want to continue to be a citizen, they are expected to pay the tax. Of course, back during the height of the empire, or during the height of the imperial port, the tax wasn't as draconian as it is in the current age. Remember, the tax now is 33% of total assets per person quarterly, and so it wasn't nearly that bad. The Glossian Empire hasn't always been, um, of an evil bent. So customs, their whole reason for existence was to collect money, and secondarily to purchase goods directly for the empire. This this actually made Glauschein both very profitable and prosperous. It also made the capital city of Glauschein uh, one of those places that would be difficult for a siege to take place. Not only because of its sheer size, but because of the fact that uh, they had the supplies that they were purchasing directly through Imperial Customs that were then carried to the capital city, and they just simply could wait it out. Their ability at that time to wait out such a siege was pretty impressive. Today, that may not really be necessarily true anymore, because today Imperial Customs pretty much serves the exact same purpose, except that it is not. None of it is going to the Empire. It is all going to feed the coffers and line the pockets of the Thieves Guild. And so, you know, the customs agents of old, of course, bribery was always a thing, but today it is pretty much the standard. And you can, some cargo might get overlooked if you grease the right palms with a few cestus pieces. And so their whole purpose is to bring it in and either pay the tax that the Thieves Guild has imposed, or for the Thieves Guild to purchase the product and sell it directly. Now, the cargo is going to come in, of course, via the customs dock. It'll go up. There's a exceptionally large set of stairs and a large set of double doors at the top that lead into the actual customs building. And the customs building, there are usually three main inspectors that are on duty. They have offices there, and they actually the people that are actually ferrying the cargo and for the most part answering to those inspectors, or are considered assistants, are generally more bandits. They are thieves and brigands and whatnot, rogues of all types. So it's not it's certainly not on the up and up, but neither are the people selling the cargo because they're all going to be thieves, bandits, brigands, and pirates. So there is a equal amount of roguish activity going on both sides. Don't let the air of bureaucracy fool you. This is a den of scum and villainy for sure. Now upstairs, they used to be that they had two floors. Some of the more choice cargo would go upstairs to the second floor. Um, and that's partially true today. Usually, though, the second floor is reserved more for things that the inspectors have decided that they want themselves, and so they will have that moved to the second floor. Um, but there's not a whole lot of cargo on the second floor in the current age. On the east side of the building, I'm sorry, I had misspoke. Customs is on the west side of the Imperial Port. On the east side of the building are two large rooms that overhang and kind of overlook not only the market district, but they are directly over the Great River that it runs beneath everything. And so they have large windows, like bay style windows, and back in the day they would have been considered pretty grand. These two rooms were used for meetings. Usually, the guild heads would the masters of the guilds would meet, or perhaps captains of ships would meet to discuss things with Imperial Customs. Today, usually only the northern room is used. The southern room doesn't appear to have been used for quite some time and is in ill repair. I mean, a little mop and glow and some Murphy soap would probably do it some good, but it's just simply not used very much. And the Thieves Guild is not really that caring about it. They've got one room and it's hardly ever used as it is. So the two rooms are infrequently used, but when they are used, it is the northern room that is used. So continuing from Imperial Customs, we can also discuss the Yeoman's Row. So Yeoman's Row exists kind of outside of the main Imperial port and is to the southeast, and it is this strip along the way. And of Yeoman's Row's main street that runs from the clearinghouse and the Imperial Gatehouse all the way down to Yeoman's Dock is known as Yeoman Street, hence the name of the row. And Yeoman's Row was originally built to be a housing area. Mostly it is going to be where you found your carpenters, merchants, sailors, etc., porters. They all made their lives here. On the southern side of the row, this was mostly the wealthier district. I mean, yeah, they had a view of the rest of the people, but they were would be considered by most in the current age to be manor houses. And they, for the most part, they are, but they're not exorbitantly wealthy. You're talking more of like um, brownstones and things like that. They're not. They're very very nice. I would say they're probably the upper end of middle class. Um, but they're this is where the wealthier people of the row would live. While on the northern side, you had numerous, of course, tenement houses and smaller homes, and then just a abundance of small shops, markets, some restaurants, bakeries, tanneries, uh, probably more than a few inns. Just a smattering of all sorts of things. And like I said, there are open markets that would spring up, and they still do today. The main thoroughfare, of course, is Yeoman Street, and this connects to a number of side streets. Most all of them going north. I mean, there's probably a few small trails through the grass to Tenders Road, which is generally Tenders Road is for the few farms in the area, but for the most part, they don't have any main streets that go from Yeoman Street to the south. And starting up here, the first one that you run into is Guild Way. And so Guild Way is pretty much the first thing that most people, when they, unless they're going directly into the Grand Mall, this is going to be one of the first things that most people see when they leave the Imperial Gatehouse or the Clearinghouse. And so Guild Way seems to be a little bit nicer than the rest, and it's a lot nicer than one would expect in the current age for a closed port. Most of the buildings are at least moderately kept up, and they serve as housing for a lot of the thieves guild and things of that nature. In the past, a lot of that housing would have been for the merchants guild. There are a number of shops that sell pretty much the same type of merchandise that you see in the Grand Mall. But because they're not in the Grand Mall, you can actually expect a slightly lower price, usually about a 5% discount over list cost of the standard equipment list from the player's handbook. There is also a large temple to the goddess Satis in her form as the Great Wave Mother or the Kraken in the Deep. And the temple is usually where sailors, either on the Great River or even those going out to the Dragon Sea, will leave offerings to Satis, hoping for um, a safe travel. So, you know, it is a large place of worship, and it is active even today. The brigands and the pirates are certainly going to go to the Temple of Satis to make their offerings to the Great Wave Mother. The next road down you have is Mall Way. Now, Mall Way sits between Breck's Row and Miller's Place. So Breck's Row is named after an old Imperial Legionnaire captain named Archibald Breck. Um, Nobody knows why. It was probably it's unknown what the purpose of Breck's Row was, but there are a lot of military row style houses, probably for the lesser ranked people, and so this is where they would have lived. Today, it's just tenement housing. And then Miller's Place, in the past, and it still holds true today, was generally where you would find some of the finest bakeries, restaurants, and wineries in the city. The wineries, of course, are not churning out such high quality wine like they did in the past, but the bakeries and the restaurants still serve fairly decent food, even if the wine isn't as fantastic as it once was. below that, you have a Thrift Alley. And Thrift Alley connects to the southern end of the Grand Mall, and it is the main thoroughfare out of the Grand Mall to Yeoman Street on the southern end. And this is where you would have a bunch of open air markets would spring up. Mostly these are transient markets. And these are people that couldn't afford the premium price to pay the Thieves Guild in order to get a stall in the Grand Market. Or they're going to be the gypsy type that is going to set up a market or set up a stall, a small tent, and they're going to make a quick couple of cestus pieces, and then tomorrow they'll pack up and move on. So you see a lot of that with Thrift Alley, especially in the current age. And so it seems that Thrift Alley, the markets that spring up here, are busy around the clock. So there are middle of the night there are some kind of festival going on. Occasionally there's fireworks. You can see that there are carnival type people moving about, entertaining in between. And Thrift Alley also draws a lot of the charlatan type fortune tellers and some of the odd stuff. If you're a magic user or a necromancer or illusionist, Thrift Alley might be a great place to get some of the harder to find out of the way spell components, especially if you're trying to do some ritual spells. You might find some of that definitely for sale in Thrift Alley that you wouldn't find at any apothecary anywhere else. So Thrift Alley could be of use. It is known that there are a lot of cut purses and pickpockets. And the common recommendation to anybody that's going to explore Thrift Alley is to tuck away and hide your coin purse, and then have a second coin purse as a decoy, and just put a couple of drachpence in it, because it is very likely that it's going to get lifted. Then below that, south of that, is Customs Way. Now, Customs Way originally was a block of buildings designed for customs agents, people that were going to be working in the customs building. Today, it is taken up mostly with brigands that are working in the customs building directly for the Thieves Guild. And it could be, like I said, it could be argued that the Thieves Guild is kind of functioning in the same manner as the Imperial Customs. But there are some distinct differences. So one of the problems that Yeoman's Row has had is that they have seen a incursion recently coming up from the Docks Ward to the south. And it is very subtle. But there is a race of people called the Gentil, and the Gentil are a cult that, they're both a race and a cult, known as the Cult of the Drowned Child, and they are very scary. They are kind of like a mutant humanoid race, and mostly what you see are Gentil commoners. They look like normal humans that can so that they can infiltrate those societies and spread the good word of the drowned child. And a lot of times they'll have some kind of telltale sign, like maybe they have some bluish fish-like scales on one arm that they'll keep covered up, or perhaps there's something weird about their eyes. But this has become a real problem. And the difference between the Thieves Guild and and the Imperial merchant, or the Imperial gatehouse, and the customs, is that the Thieves Guild isn't going to spend money to have actual watches. They might have a couple of people roaming around, and especially in Yeoman's Row, the Thieves Guild kind of wants to keep it at least somewhat civilized. They might be thieves and robbers themselves, some assassins, and they would murder somebody without second thought. but they want to have some kind of feeling that they have an air of legitimacy, and or that they are important. And so part of that is making sure that their streets are civilized. But they don't invest a whole lot into their guard and their watch. And so a lot of the guys that would be doing watch duty are as bad as some of the criminals that might be perpetuating the crime. So, that's a big difference between the Thieves Guild and the Empire. And so these Gentil commoners that are gradually making their way in are a big threat, and there's a lot of rumors going around that, especially around the taverns and some of the inns late at night, people have gone missing. And there's a lot of rumors that these Gentil commoners are conducting rituals in the basements of some of the buildings in the row. So that is Yeoman's Row. We will be focusing in on Thrift Alley, at some of the markets on Thursday. So catch us then. And thank you for watching, and we will catch you next time.